The hero said he understood her point. She said the spell was simple, and the real question was whether he could use it. Now it was time to show what he could do. The creature warned they had to be careful, or it would be the end of them all. The girl said the man would never allow that and would cope. The hero applied zeroing. The man turned to the boy and told him he was being excluded from their squad. Rudd couldn't understand what was happening, and the man kept saying Rudd was being banished and that they no longer needed him. Nothing about the suddenness made sense to the hero. The girl said the man was cruel and laughed about it. Another person said he should be surprised because he had not expected to be thrown out. Shin opposed it but called the hero useless and said she felt sorry for him. We decided together. 5 years have passed since the man formed the squad. The man rescued him from a shelter. From that day on, serving the squad and being useful became his goal. He believed he could become the one the whole team needed. Changed trans show to disdain. He said it was all because he was useless. The man explained how things were going. They mostly fought on the front line. The other girls used magic for long-range support. Another girl had magic that protected the group from the undead and sometimes healed them. Having devised the tactic, the hero believed he understood everything. The man said that in the vanguard, the hero cannot fight or use offensive magic, and only stays in the rear performing useless support magic. Trans called him useless and said there was no point in him being there. Rude said he wasn't very good at it, but they couldn't have done it without him. The man called him an idiot and said he was just a burden now. He said anyone could carry the luggage and point the way. The boy felt that wasn't the kind of help he meant. The hero admitted he wasn't an expert in auxiliary magic, but someone had to fill that role, since the upcoming dungeons would demand more strategy than ever, and they needed someone to guide them from the rear. His former comrades claimed they were now top-ranked and could easily clear lower-ranked dungeons, but they had no idea how effective he was, and the man said he could fight without any auxiliary magic. Rudd asked them to stay calm and said his auxiliary magic was now always active. Translated said they don't need him because he is just a parasite. He's already found a replacement for him. They have a contract to fight together in the next dungeon attack. The new ally is a specialist who is below your level. They told the hero he wasn't worthy of a squad of their rank, saying useless people were weeded out as a matter of course. The boy couldn't recall doing anything to deserve their hatred, and even if it were true, there had to be a reason. Red said he would need his magic and would prove it on their next adventure. More than a helper, he had learned several kinds of magic for the party and still had a lot of unused magic. Although his comrade treated him badly, and he knows he doesn't deserve to be with them, the squad is the only place he's ever belonged. Tran, who gave him a place to stay, was like light, like the sun. The man said he had finished the conversation. Dismissing the man as a nuisance, he told his comrades to go to the restaurant because they had a reservation. The man said he would take charge of the team's tactics and do even better. The girl hopes the hero will remember their kindness for the rest of his life. Transed said he had canceled the hero's registration as an adventurer. The boy said he hoped he would not regret it. The man laughed and said he was sure he would not. Despite being upset, Red remained grateful to him. Entering the room, he could not believe his eyes. His old comrades sold all his belongings. The woman greeted him. She said he was in a great hurry to go on a trip, and she would miss him because he was one of the few worthy adventurers in town. She said she had picked up his things in the hallway. Determined to forget it and hoping others would too, the boy slapped his cheeks and told himself to pull himself together. The hero said he was leaving. Turning the bracelet off crossed his mind. The last piece of magical equipment he never sold was a support tool he always kept that helped Tran and the rest of the party. One night when they were lower ranked, bandits attacked them. He found them with his magic, and only that saved their lives. Since then, he has constantly used auxiliary magic to grow stronger. This magic item was created to support high-level magic. The man used the release. He said they were really saying goodbye this time. Pain hit the hero, and he thought it came from a magical imbalance in his body, a pain he had not felt in 5 years. Lightness filled his body, and his thoughts cleared. He had no idea how much magic was flowing out of him and felt great. Rudd worried his former comrades might not manage without him, but he chose to stop thinking about them since he was no longer their partner. The hero said it was time to hit the road. Looking up at the night sky, he said he hadn't realized how beautiful it was because he'd spent so much time studying magic in his room. The boy realizes he no longer has to do that. Locking himself in a dark room is unnecessary. Spending his pennies on expensive magic books is unnecessary too. He can use most techniques and no longer has to go with a squad. That was exactly what he wanted. From now on, he'd live for himself, go where he wanted, and buy and eat what he liked. He would earn money and do what he enjoyed, but first he needed to leave the city. The girl said it was nice to meet you and introduced herself as an auxiliary mage joining the Golden Rose Squad. Puff couldn't believe they had rented a restaurant to welcome her, and she thanked them. As a help specialist, she learned to recognize other people's fighting abilities and calls it an aura. The girl had never seen such an aura and wondered if she could stay among such high-level people. Unsure she could handle them, they told her they were counting on her, and she replied she would do her best. Moments ago, they had the aura of C-rank adventurers. Now they looked like A-rank or even B-rank adventurers. She assumed they were ordinary adventurers, but felt that couldn't be right. Even with auxiliary magic, they cannot raise their abilities to that rank and cannot cast it on all four at once. The hero suggested traveling alone at night using light magic. The trip to the Empire would take him about a month. That vast continent has 3 main territories. The main centers of human activity are the high air and the empire called the human kingdoms. Food is the only problem. If we stretch it, it should last 3 days. The map you remembered shows a small forest a little further to the southeast. We can get meat or fish there. You wondered whether his former comrades were all right, though he should have stopped thinking about it. The boy heard a cry for help. He used a wind boost and accelerated, but thought it was too late. Seeing the robbers who had attacked the carts and the guards already dead, the hero will not show mercy because they killed to fill their own pockets. He used magnetization, storm-driven fixation magic, the wind blade, and magic synthesis. The robbers fled from him. His first spell proved surprisingly powerful. It was the first time he'd actually used offensive magic he'd only read about. Now he was at least safe and had begun searching for survivors. It was a cart carrying people, and he said everything was fine now because he had dealt with all the bandits. Yet it didn't seem like everything was okay. Several people had already died, one girl was bleeding, and if nothing was done, she would die. Telling her to relax, he promised to help, though he hadn't used restorative magic for a long time. The hero activated physical regeneration. He used clairvoyance. The man realized she had nothing but problems, and even her internal organs were damaged. The wounds were old, and she had been in this condition for a long time, picking up many complications, so she needed to be detoxified and to rebuild her strength. All that remained was the damned water. You can clean, steam, and wash it all at once, but the clothes have already turned into rags, so you'll need to try to fix them with magic. The girl looked like a wolf. She didn't realize that not only had part of her healed early, but the rest of her body had also recovered. Having gone a long time without using magic, the hero felt tired. Rudd wasn't sure he'd done enough to optimize his forces. After she thanked him, he said he had tried it himself too. A mark on her chest caught his eye that he had never seen before. She was clearly frightened. The hero didn't understand what had happened. She apologized and said she had been scared because she thought he would hit her. She asked him not to hit her and promised to obey him and not even think about running away. A raised hand triggers her. His magic heals the body but cannot heal the mind. The hero hugged her and assured her that everything was fine and he would not harm her. He said she was safe now and everything was fine. She felt very warm in his embrace. Calmer now, she apologized for embarrassing him, and when the hero asked what had happened, she said she didn't know, only that they had been suddenly attacked by a group of people. Then they saw the robbers, said this was not what they had been told, and started doing bad things that served the robbers' purpose. After thanking him again, she asked his name. He gave it. In response, she said her name was Sue. If they stay there, the bandits could come back. Deciding the cart could be rebuilt with magic and restoration, he used it. Using earth magic, they can build a simple grave. At minimum, they must bury those who were killed. If this is not done, their fate will be far worse than it is now. With little time, he decided to dig a mass grave, the least he could do. He said they don't have horses, but can try to move it with magic, or he can use wind magic to make the wheels turn. She asked whether he would stay with her. The girl asked to stay near him. He figured no man could say no to a woman who looked at him like that. Initially treated like a servant, he was taken to the orphanage as an abandoned child. A train then picked him up, and his memories of being at the shelter were erased, so he doesn't remember where the shelter is or what he was doing there. They likely wanted to make sure he could not slip away from them. No matter how harsh the place he ended up in, he would have nowhere to run. The suffering did not end. These feelings never disappear completely. Apologizing to him, the girl said she was weak, useless, and looked disgusting. The hero admitted she was wrong. Sue started asking where she had bought the clothes and whether they suited her, and the man said they were very beautiful. He thought the girl would have a mysterious beauty if she weren't wearing handcuffs. No one would have guessed she was a servant. Her shy, fussy look charmed him. He realized he had a weakness for beast-like girls. Meeting one for the first time made him want to protect her. Until then, he had never really interacted with ordinary girls. She asked him to come along, but he refused, saying he liked his freedom. He couldn't be responsible for someone else's life right now, so he wanted both of them to live freely. The girl he knows is no one's possession now, so she can live like an ordinary girl. Sue said she would be his by her own choice. He said he hadn't meant it that way. She told him she was very glad to meet him. Reluctantly, the hero asked her to look after him. The cart served as tents, giving them a place to spend the night. He offered her food and asked if she preferred meat or fish. She said she ate only bread and milk. The hero found it sad. He suggested they try both, and Rude assumed she believed he would be angry if she did not help. The man said she could come with him, but he refused to let her help him. Shackles on her hands bound her and marked her as a servant. A third party cannot cancel the contract. The contract remains valid even if its creator dies. This form is usually circulated among the nobility. If they find out he canceled it, it will be considered a crime. He invoked the contract break. The hero chose to live on his own terms. The dark magic formula attempted to destroy him. This contract is extremely strong and was likely imposed by a group rather than a single person. Only he could break it. Ranked as the party's mage, he disarmed traps and lifted curses in every dungeon and found new routes for his friends, so he was skilled at it. The girl said it was incredible because she had been told she would never take them off. Red told her not to worry, and since she would help him, she could use her hands. The girl added that he not only removed the shackles, but also healed her illnesses and wounds. People told her the condition was incurable, as if it were a curse, and even the clergy had given up. She was left alone in the village. This hero ran his hand over her head. The girl said the man had given her cute clothes and rescued her from bandits, calling him her benefactor. He insisted he was just a magician. She added he was so amazing he hardly seemed real. She asked him to become her true comrade. To bind her, they must put shackles on her, exchange blood, mix their magic, then carve the seal of the contract, which will make her swear to obey him forever. Knowing the ritual, he does not want her bound that way, so he apologized and said he could not do it. The Beast of People has its own culture. As far as he knows, a forehead kiss is a sign of friendship. The hero said he thinks that kind of relationship is much better. He asked if she liked it. She said it was great. Sue asked why she needed such a high promotion. The man noted her interesting way of thinking. Wanting to apply it in that case, she asked to try it. The hero agreed. She seemed shy to him, and kissing was part of the culture. Instead of kissing his forehead, she said this was her answer. She asked him to look after her. Even after reading many books, he still can't tell what is what. Different cultures interpret kisses between boys and girls differently. A kiss on the forehead suggests a discreet courtship. Kisses between girls and boys often send mutual messages. A girl's kiss can mean she will ultimately give him everything. He said the A-rank dungeon was the curse lair of a ferocious dragon. The man admitted he'd drunk too much, and his comrades agreed. One girl's magic had gone completely out of control, and she said she had no strength. They couldn't believe so little had left them hungover. Tran thought they had been drugged. He said he would destroy the restaurant after the dungeon was cleared. He told his comrades they could not stand still forever, and it was time to take on the dungeon. His comrades backed his view. He assumed their new teammate had a hangover too, but she denied it and suggested skipping the dungeon today. She warned it was better not to go into the dungeon today, but Tran asked how he was supposed to understand that. The man assumed she was the same woman they'd recently banished and warned her not to piss him off. An assistant by trade, she knew what she was talking about and could sense their power level, which she called an aura. Tran said it was great. Puff admitted they were not in good shape and that their fighting power had dropped a lot. She said they were around B rank. The man laughed and said her jokes were strange, and the girl laughed too, saying she was amused by her two serious faces. They thought they could not be so weak because of a hangover. Puff said she understood it all herself and that it was usually impossible. Yesterday, when she first saw them, they had a strength she'd never seen in the guild, but that was no longer true, and if they tackled the dungeon like that, there would be casualties. If she, as an aid expert, said that, it meant he was in far worse shape than before, and in his current state, he might not be able to fight at his usual level. He said they had to go, and if they postponed it to another day, nothing would work out. Determined, the man insisted they must do it today, or the kingdom would miss its deadline, and said it was not an easy request. This was a skills test, so he told his comrades to be ready. Failing because of a hangover was unacceptable for a C rank, and his comrades agreed. When the girls moved to stop them, the man assumed they had no time to talk with her and that she was only bothering them. She apologized for saying something she shouldn't have earlier that day, and the man told her she would learn everything in time. The adventurers cast a fireball and used undead transformation. The man launched a cross-kick. They were the best. The hero said he had been kicked out of the guild, and the girl couldn't believe it, saying he was very strong. He replied that the squad he was in was not good enough, yet was excellent. Ranks start at E, the lowest, and officially go up to SSS. Until recently, there had been only one SSS-ranked squad, the legendary heroes who defeated the Demon Lord. So far, there are only 3 SSS squads, and only 7 parties are certified at rank C. Only a few of them are in high IR. It's a prestigious rank given only to a select few. The girl said it was unfair. She praised him, saying she knew no one as strong, amazing, and kind, and others unfairly said he was not good enough. They were the ones who were wrong. It was the first time anyone got angry at a hero. It felt strange but made him happy. He said it was a rank and that they were all much stronger than him. They are likely in a C-rank dungeon right now. Saya said that now he had her, he no longer had to think about them and thanked her. The man admitted he overdid it a bit. They reached the spot in the city of the Roland Empire. The hero said he wanted to be an adventurer again, but here. She asked him if he wanted to go on another trip, and he said yes, but wasn't sure he could. Sue was certain he could and would become the best adventurer. The girl always supported him. It wasn't magic, but it made him stronger, and she may even be better at helping than he is. He will do it on his own again. The man doubted they were on the right path and thought they had been there before. The girl said they should be on the right path, and he scolded her for getting them lost, but they had to clear the dungeon today. It was very dark there. She asked for a little light to guide the way, and the girl said she could, but she would have to use too much magic. She said the other girl had to help win too and was too slow. The other girl said she was just a little out of shape. The man said he was not in the best shape either. He said he wasn't sure he could do anything, but they had to try. They began encouraging him and promised to hurry and show them the way. They should not have wasted time on a road full of monsters. She was sure this was the right road. Originally, Puff was to be the squad's new auxiliary mage with a rank. There was no coordination, no assigned roles, no clear plan. It looked like a hastily assembled group of rookies. They were at level 4 of 13. The deeper they went into the dungeon, the stronger the magic and the tougher the monsters became. An uneasy feeling wouldn't leave her. So far, the main monsters are goblin zombies. They sit at the low end of B-rank strength. A C-rank mage should be able to handle them with E-rank abilities. He told me he didn't need help, and to watch how the fight went with the rank. She thought the Tran could afford to be complacent, because he seemed relaxed fighting 2 goblin zombies, but one extra goblin in the middle of the fight caused confusion, and he only won with the girl's magic. The magic was strong enough, but it was hard to believe this was her specialty. The fireball showed none of the bone-crushing power people claimed. Her eyes did not lie. The real power of those people was only B-rank. Their rise to the rank of Circa puzzled her, but that was not the main issue now. They needed to retreat while the danger was low, or they would be defeated. They will be completely wiped off the face of the earth. The hero stood beside the girl, outside Roland's Adventurers Guild. Everything around him looked almost the same as in his old town, which felt strange. A worker greeted them. She asked how she could help. The arrow replied that he would like to register as a new adventurer. The girl said she would handle his registration and introduced herself as the guild secretary. The hero introduced himself, and Enon asked if the girl wanted to register with them too. Sue said she didn't need to register. At the table, the men misunderstood the situation. The hero started worrying about his future. Nan said they needed to prepare everything for registration and asked him to first fill in all the required information on a special form. First, he had to enter his name and age, which made him nervous, and one of the men asked the girl if she was lost and said there was no place for people like her there. The hero said he was a man, and the stranger apologized, saying he was too skinny to be easily mistaken. The man said that on closer inspection, the guy was quite cute and suggested finding him a better job than being an adventurer. Red told him to mind his own business and stay quiet. The man dismissed him as ignorant. He insisted that adventure is for real men and that there is no place for skinny people like him. Seeing such a good-for-nothing annoyed him. The hero turned to the girl and said everything was fine. He asked the man to return the item because he was still writing. The stranger told him to try to take it and said adventurers must be strong. The man sighed and said adventurers are the same everywhere. Everywhere he went, the man got angry with him. He began attacking the man, noting his physical strength, stance and flow of magical power, judged his fighting ability at about rank B, and planned to tell him to be more selective when choosing opponents. Although he had been kicked out, he remained a former C-rank squad member who, with physical enhancement, could deliver especially strong attacks and even take on a B-rank opponent alone, and the man said it was a sudden attack. Red said he was only a mage and couldn't control curses, but he could still use a couple. The man thought the hero was making fun of him, while another onlooker guessed that, because he got back on his feet so fast, his stamina probably made him one of the best in rank B. With that level, the hero said you probably won't get out even if you wave your fists all day, but he won't try to stop you. A man began screaming to be let go. The other man told him to be quiet for a moment and said he would let him go once he finished his business. He apologized to the girl and asked if she had been scared. She said she wasn't scared at all. It was a bit noisy now, but at least no one would bother him anymore. The man began screaming and pleading to be let out. The noise was too much for the hero. The hero used the silence. Witnesses said he struck with a terrifyingly fast blow that was a sight to behold and called him strong. The heroes started talking. One of them thought a strange group had gathered there. With enhanced strength, the hero landed 3 blows. The girl said we should take a closer look at him. A few hours ago, on level 5 of the Fierce Dragon's cursed lair. She said she needed a short break. He said he didn't want to rush and needed to check the map. She said she was tired and asked for time to restore her magical power. Puff was certain they would now understand the situation and suggested they retreat. The man refused. His comrades said they were not even halfway there and that the real work would begin soon. The girl could not see why they were so confident. Trans said he would lift the ban on auxiliary magic starting now and was counting on her. She was asked to watch them. They wanted to see how much she could help. They offered to work with her. They expected far more from auxiliary magic than she realized, since she set the bar at the Heavenly Tower level and said her help alone would not be enough. The man called her modest and reminded them she was a high-level expert, and they also asked her to carry the luggage and brighten the lighting. Puff didn't know what auxiliary magic was or why others tried to make her carry luggage and even plot directions when she couldn't do everything at once. Auxiliary magic was very complicated, and she didn't understand why so few mages used it. They wanted her to boost productivity using strengthening magic from the auxiliary spectrum and to use farsightedness. Until now, she had been conserving magic, so lighting and auxiliary powers should be fine. They began talking about their old friend, prompted the girl to do the same, and said he had done the same at first. The girl said she couldn't do so many things. Puff didn't know who they meant. The man said they had to move on and had no time to rest. Given the map the man used, she set out all the luggage to ensure visibility, used illumination and was given a torch, and she should see herself as having a few abilities that can grow, because using fire, water, and light together is hard to grasp. Worst of all, the words made her want to cry. Their demands were too much, and she had already explained she had limits. They told her the main character handled it all without complaining. She couldn't tell who they were talking about. He used many kinds of magic, and using them together was extremely difficult. It simply didn't make sense to her. This is level 6. The magic power felt noticeably different than before. This was the dungeon called the Cursed Lair. An ominous atmosphere marked the start of a true A-rank dungeon. The tension of entering the danger zone never got any easier for her. A road lay ahead, so they moved forward without a map and focused on the battle while keeping their spirits up. Le Man said they were all serious and would make everything very easy. A huge king goblin zombie stood before them. They assumed it was the boss of the floor and that this was their chance. The man decided luck was on their side. The girl said he had an amazing mind and was a genius in some ways, but he wasn't the boss. Since this damned lair includes a fierce dragon, there must be a dragon here, so the boss must be a dragon. The mid-game king tier boss is the most dangerous rank A enemy, and even at rank A you may struggle to resist him. Even the dungeon's name was forgotten, but the hierarchy had been shown ahead of time. The man announced it was time to clear the dungeon and that preparations for the extermination were complete. The girl did not believe they were completely unafraid of the king. She thought they were only testing her and everyone was pretending. They fought poorly against the B-rank team because they wanted to see how she would do. Joining a C-rank unit means they are still testing her. Knowing that fear leads to defeat, she said she understood and would do her best to become a worthy auxiliary mage. She suddenly remembered the senior adventurer's words at the guild. Adventurers need more than fighting skill. They need a steady heart that won't waver against any powerful foe and the courage to face danger head-on. An adventurer, a seeker of the unknown and a fighter against obstacles, she will not be intimidated by a stronger opponent. Now she is accompanied by S-rank comrades. The girl formed a wall of light. It would be hard to destroy but would buy them time. If he was a zombie, he couldn't handle light. They had to fight. All of them were wounded. The man said he had been caught off guard. He said they hold rank and will handle their forces because it is their duty. They could not believe the monster survived all their blows. The girl said she was in terrible pain and had never been hurt so badly. Puff agreed to help them and said she was doing everything she could, and when the battle began, she gave both a physical boost but could not support them forever. The girl unleashed a ball of hellfire. The healer said she had no choice but to use her trump card, holding holy water in her hands. She used the holy, purifying light. The scream was the loudest she had ever heard. Their attack had worked, but they still couldn't beat him. One more hit was needed, but she said she couldn't take any more. She assumed the holy water had harmed him as he slowed. The girl said this was their chance and that they should retreat now. Everyone was badly injured and unable to act. She finally understood. The man said the previous mage had been expelled for not keeping up with the rest of the squad, but in reality, he left because they were too weak and too dependent on him. Strategic report on the dungeon's difficulty level and the fierce dragon's cursed lair. The cleanup is a complete failure. The girl apologized for keeping him waiting. He said he'd just finished filling out a form. She said she'd check and that there was no problem. The hero said he wanted to check on someone first. He had isolated the man because he was making too much noise. That man was a B-rank fighter. She realized he had once been an adventurer, but had somehow lost his license. She said it was no surprise because he was very strong. She said she was watching him, and even when surprised, her smile never left her face. He thought she was an excellent administrator. She said his previous guild didn't matter to her. Adventurers and the Empire's price, the more the better. Adventurers of all skill levels are always welcome. GILs don't accept everyone who applies, and they use a selection process. She said it was just a joke, not to worry, and that they had already registered it. The hero found her sense of humor stronger than he had expected. She asked him to start the tests. There were 2 tests, an ability test and a competence test. He said he would try. Inan said those could have been left out, but that was the rule. She asked if he was good at magic. He said he was a magician and was also good with the ball. First came a suitability test. Mages were tested with crystals. A magical artifact responds to the magic of anyone who touches it and glows in different colors, with the brightness showing how much magical power they have. Rudd said he had only seen it in books and never in real life. When the girl said that, he understood how it worked. If the crystal showed it had enough magical power and abilities, it passed the test. Until then, he didn't need to know about elemental abilities. Some kinds of magic were beyond him, so instead of testing them, he copied their effects with other methods, and after studying magic books, he soon used every type, though the strain sometimes made him faint or nearly die from headaches, or gave him a nosebleed that would not stop. The girl told him to let the magic flow, and assured him the crystal would not break, so he should not worry. Anan said only pure power, the great sage who is considered the world's strongest magician, can break this crystal with magic. Breaking it would be amazing. Framing it that way encouraged him because he did not have to hold back and could give it his all. Begin testing. Mondor, the great sage, is the greatest magician of all time and the hero known as the Holy Sword Cornelin. Both are heroes of the supercontinent era, seen as mythical figures and key members of the only SSS rank squad in history, and he thinks saying only this great sage can defeat him is a big exaggeration. Given his high durability, he believes he has nothing to fear. Curious how it would respond, he channeled a little magic, but the ball did not react as he expected. The hero assumed his magical power was insufficient to become an adventurer. He was just as surprised as the girl. He remembered her saying he wouldn't break this crystal. Strange sounds, a frown and sweat couldn't hide the girl's smile, and the guy thought she was a real professional. The protagonist apologized for breaking the ball. The girl said it had simply worn out. They had used it for a long time, so it broke. She had never seen anything like it before and asked if he had any special magic. When the great sage destroyed it long ago, she heard it gave off a blinding, sun-like light. Rumors said the chronicler was blinded by it. Now they measure the crystals while wearing protective goggles. Suitability was determined by the color of the light, but the ball did not glow. The hero believed he was completely unsuitable. Maybe his magic is just like that and nothing special, and the girl said it wasn't fair. She said he could use many kinds of magic, and he must be able to use them all. Sue is certain he broke the crystal. proving he has even more magical power than the Great One. He is confident about how many tricks he can perform and how much magic he can produce. Having studied magic around the world, he considers it an exaggeration to claim he is more powerful than the great sage. At least she knows he can use magic. Technically, it is advanced magic. The crystal probably failed because it was cracked. It reacts to the faintest magic. It must glow. Convinced there's another reason, the hero won't bother with explanations, and the worst offense is being wrong about your abilities. Knowing he can use high magic, she finds its power unusual but not problematic and judges it to be at an immeasurably high level. Consider that you must find a way to express greatness. This supposed magical power is infinite. Startled, she said none of this can be measured. There are no limits, so magic is infinite. The girl said it was all because she had judged him very well and was a good judge of character. The man said he had no doubt about her abilities. She said if any other magical items could measure the power of magic, they would try to measure it again, so his measurement results were unclear. Now the test of abilities begins. It reveals the practical side of magic. Normally it's done in a special room, but because his magic is unpredictable, they will do it outside for safety. The hero realized she didn't trust him and might still be upset that he broke the 2 crystals. She set up targets for him to test. The test requires him to attack them with his magic. She said he can use any basic attack magic and any element and should destroy them if he can. That wasn't the reaction he expected. He looked as if he'd seen this before. His expression was confident. She wore a fixed smile, but her feelings were easy to read. They were hard to break since they were made of real golden slime. Rare and small, the golden slime had a danger level of A. It had a golden body, and unusually, was resistant to physical attacks, but had no resistance to them. This strange, extremely rare monster has overwhelming resistance to magic, uses powerful magic attacks, and I often hear about it because of its rarity. The golden targets are made from golden slimes. Even rank C ones are hard to destroy without special skill. That makes them almost impossible to destroy with a basic magic attack. Nothing can destroy him. She is sure those targets will seek revenge for the magic crystal. He knew she was still haunted by his breaking of your crystals. She said it was a visual test to see if he could control his magic. It was normal that he couldn't break it. No one had ever damaged it. The surface was coated in a gel that reacted to magic, leaving a mark where the blow landed. This was about precision, not strength. If his aim was only to pass the exam, it would be easy. A small focus of magic would suffice. Aim higher and he could get a high score. He still could not destroy her. Her grudge ran deeper than he expected, and he could not stand his pride as a mage being hurt. She said she was sure nothing would break this time, yet he noticed she was nervous, and it felt like they had just exchanged a few unflattering words. This is a great opportunity to test how good he is, so don't hold back. She asked him about the staff members. The hero said he wasn't used to it and assumed it was necessary. The girl said it wasn't essential. Rudd replied that in that case, they used their hands as usual. Enan was surprised. He always did this. Considering which magic to use, the main character suggested something fiery. His former comrade specialized in the fireball, or more accurately, the fire arrow. After casting the spell, he guided the magic, shifted it to the fire element and reshaped it, altered some techniques to favor power over precision, completed those adjustments, and then prepared to deploy several magic compression techniques while the girl said she had a bad feeling and asked him to wait. Flaming arrows smashed the target. The girl asked what kind of magic it was. The hero said it was a basic fire arrow. She congratulated him and he apologized. That was total overkill. The blow hit far harder than he had expected. Sue felt happy for him. The hero was escorted out and told he would now be informed of the final result of the registration test. She usually gives it on the spot. This time she had specific instructions when she knocked on the door and told the man she had brought a potential recruit, as he had asked. Thanking him for taking the registration test, the girl introduced herself. Savinia mentioned the hero's unusual companion and found it interesting, but she decided to discuss his results first. She had never seen results like that before, nor had the hero heard of it. He feared she would dismiss it as an incomprehensible definition and felt nervous. She told him he had passed, congratulated him, and welcomed him as a member of the guild. Sue was glad for him. The man thanked them. He felt a bit out of place. She said he would start at rank E knowing we're good at what we do. She still has no other option, even with her power. The hero said he did not mind because he had just arrived. The girl was glad he understood everything. The secretary thought his abilities already matched his rank, and Rudd said they were just adventurers and also an ex. She promised not to probe his past, had high hopes for him, and looked forward to working together. With them finished, he could decide what to do next, and a task board stood at the guild entrance. She said she wanted to see it for herself. He asked if this was a continuation of the test. She said he had passed and it had been only a special test, but the game required a prize, so if he won she would give him one. She said a top group is looking for an A-ranked partner and can write a recommendation. It made sense to the hero. Since he knew no one in Roland, he would agree readily. The man said he would take the test. They began discussing the terms. The girl said they would settle everything with a single strike. She planned to attack him with a sword. If they blocked the attack, he would win, and if she wounded him, she would win. The hero said she had the upper hand. She said she would make sure he did not get bored. The girl aims her sword at the man, decides to start the fight here, and asks that the child be brought out, while Sue in turn screams that she will not leave her master and will watch the test. Savinia drops into a squat, showing she is ready to fight, and asks them to be absolutely sure the girl will not be harmed, since no one wants that. Rude confidently draws on the barrier's magic. The guild master admits the boy's magic is off the charts, but adds that it isn't the only way to survive as an adventurer, and the hero doesn't understand what she means. She only implies he looked at it with a crazy smile. She jerks sharply toward him. He instantly reaches out and casts a spell, but it has no effect. Rude is surprised the girl used anti-magic protection, a barrier that blocks magic and suppresses spells, also called Mage Killer. Savinia smiled smugly, knowing she had confused him. She wonders how the boy can fight without his magic. Stunned, he reminds her she said she would attack him only with a sword. At first, the girl used only a sword. Throwing him into the air, she defiantly orders the boy to show his strength. You never know what will happen, and that's the whole point of adventures, she says while holding knives, then swings and throws the blades at him. Taken aback by the reception, he stands frozen among the blades stuck in the ground. He realizes she used an improvised trap called colored threads to restrict the enemy's movement. Red realizes the girl wants him to go straight ahead, but he tells her it is too complicated. Meanwhile, she swings her sword and urges the hero not to die. Vinny blends fire and wind, making the man instinctively believe she is trying to kill him, but this helps the hero because she has untied his hands and he will copy her to build countermeasures. Reacting to a sudden attack, Rude raises a barrier. Surprised that he adapted to her attack so quickly, the girl grows very curious about what else he can do. She swings at him again. Rudd refuses to give up and tells her she prepared too well. Then he remembers that thug. Breathing hard from the exertion, she still wanted to fight and see more. The next swing came quickly. Breathing heavily, Rudd wanted to know why she looked so furious, so he decided to grant her wish and keep fighting. Reaching out, he feels the wind element in the blade, and at the same time, the earth element. Savinia relishes the fight and senses the boy's magic, adjusting to her attacks. Confused, Red finds it strange, but he already thinks he knows who won. Breathing heavily, the rival asks him again to show how he adjusts to her, and he tenses slightly. Savinia likes to fight. He returns her gaze. She moves toward him, her gaze fixed on him. The need for magic and blade. The sword suddenly breaks, and the tip of the blade flies straight toward the girl. She hides behind her hands, trembling, but the splinter misses her and hits the barrier. Confused, Savinia turns around as Sue watches her from the barrier dome. She asks the hero when he did it, and he replies that he put protection in place from the very beginning. He made it clear he couldn't put them in danger. With a satisfied smile, Savinia says that after all the magic it has become hard for her to even breathe. Rude smiled and said he's used to a lot of magic, and after blocking the attack asked if he'd won. Calmly, the girl concedes his victory, admitting she is completely defeated and never imagined a mithril weapon could break. The man shrugs it off and says it was an accident. Laughing, she tells Rude he's a very funny guy and that she likes him. All he can think about is how she's lost her old enthusiasm. He wants it to stay this way forever, but he doesn't understand what it was. The man doesn't understand what an adaptation fetish means. Anne says they all have an addiction to adaptations, just like the guildmaster. Rudd thinks their guild is full of weirdos. Savinia approaches him again and offers her hand, saying she hasn't seen a good adaptation in a long time, that it was fun, and suggesting he be more serious next time. The man disagrees. He refuses because he no longer wants anything to do with the demonic sword. The guildmaster tells the boy she thought she had control of the sword, but she lacks the experience. Ruja shrugs, he's heard that before. People say if an inexperienced person holds a demonic sword, their consciousness will be enslaved by the sword's power. The fact that she can handle it without problems proves she controls it. Reporting the test is complete, she asks Enoch to give him the guild medal. The girl hands Rudda the box with his Roland Adventurer certificate. The adventurer's rank is now E, and he is very pleased. He knows he did the right thing. Becoming an adventurer again, he did it by his own efforts. Red finally feels like a real human being in the truest sense. People turn to the hero and celebrate his success, while Sue leaps with joy and says she will follow him anywhere. A beautiful girl appears. Savinian tells the boy that the squad leader should arrive any minute and will give him an official recommendation and the chance to meet in person. Downstairs, people moved about doing their own tasks. Rudd sat at the table with Sue to see if any work was available for him, starting with E rank. The girl hands the guy some papers and offers to look over his assignments. They studied the papers carefully, focusing on the task of gathering herbs. Inan warns him he can get more missions by joining an A-rank squad, and she knows it's too easy, but he'll have to put up with it for now. Rudd is still grateful to them because there is at least some work. A woman in armor burst into the room, leaning on her sword with graceful ease. She notices him with interest, and their eyes meet. Red looks away and says he thought he saw their eyes meet. Inan turns and trembles with excitement. Suddenly, the same girl rushes up to the man and eagerly asks if his name is Rudd. The man agrees, but the sudden closeness makes him uneasy. She takes his hand happily, showing she already knew and understood everything at a glance. Fidgeting with her fingers, she says she feels his strange aura. Embarrassed, Rude still feels her cold, hard armor on his hands. Sue suddenly cuts into their conversation, squeezes between them, waves her arms, and shouts at the girl to find out who she is. Savinia steps out from behind and says this girl's name is Lily Ruru. Stepping forward, she introduces the woman as the leader of their A-rank squad, Brave Fang. Confused, Rudd asks again, and the girl explains this is the same squad she wrote the recommendation for. Clutching her heart, Lily Ruruhu starts chattering that she couldn't wait to meet, thinking it would be tomorrow, and that she heard everything from Eonin. Rudd glared at Inan, who, not expecting those words, shuddered. Savini suggests the information may have come from someone other than Inan. Lily Ruber rushes up to the man, delighted, and starts asking him many questions about how he defeated Savinia, who was in a state of adaptation madness, and how he instantly overcame the property, bypassing the killer of magicians, while Rudd, confused, remains silent. Lily Rue keeps firing questions at him, while Einan waves his arms to stop her, until Sue steps in to say Rudd is already tired. Lily Rue apologizes for being so insistent and explains she is very excited. Offering her hand, she tells him the decision is already made, and on behalf of the entire Brave Boar's Tusk squad, welcomes him with open arms. Rude didn't expect the girl to come all this way just to invite him. It's a new squad and a new place for him. He remembers his old squad, the people he spent so much time with, and believes they've probably already moved on. He tells himself it's not his place. Suddenly, he covers his mouth with his hand. Stressed, he throws up on the girl, and she makes a face. A cry of fear and surprise burst from her so loudly that people in the street heard it. Later, the boy wakes and presses his hand to his forehead, feeling unwell. Getting up from the couch, he finds himself in the guild's common room. Sue runs up to him happily. Savinia notices the man has woken up. He immediately drops to his knees at her feet and asks her for forgiveness. She stands confidently in front of him and tells him to stop apologizing. Rudd rises to his feet, expecting Lily Ruru to be furious, so he doesn't fully believe what's happening. He notices how exceptionally noble she looks in this dress. Red sat across from the squad and saw the man wince at the word squad. She wants to know whether there is a reason for that reaction. Rude points out that Lily Ruru leads a squad both internally and externally. Knowing it would be rude to stay silent and hide it, he says they may have already heard. Rudd was a high-flying adventurer. Lily Ruber reacts very aggressively, refusing to believe he could have been kicked out and insisting this simply cannot happen. Overwhelmed by strong emotion, she leaned on the table with her hands, while Einan held out her palms to calm the girl. She had never seen a mage of Mr. Rude's level. Higher had a strange grading system, and Lily Rude muttered under her breath that they would not be able to find a replacement. Savinia admitted she didn't understand it either. The group was either so skilled they didn't need Rudd's help, or they were simply incompetent. Sue ran around Lily Ruru, holding her hand and babbling that she had been right about Rudd being the best mage, while he watched everyone in surprise. Stunned, he finds no one blames him, and that people are angry at Tran, and the others for sending him away. Inan said the friends he trusted most had abandoned him, and that was what tormented him. Lily Rue asked if that was why the boy felt upset when he heard about the squad. Everyone supported and reassured Rude. The guy didn't understand and had no idea that squad phobia existed or that such a thing could happen. Wanting to help Sue with her problems, he didn't realize he was too traumatized to help her. She came over and gently stroked his head to encourage him. Rudd looked at the smiling Sue and realized he didn't even know which of them was the boss. Liliruru rose slowly, nodded, and said she would arrive a little later. She suggested they talk about Rudd joining the squad next time. He stared at her in surprise, about to say something. He thought it over and lowered his head. They were an A-rank unit, so they needed people more talented than him. There was no reason to choose him because he wasn't quite right in the head. Lily Rue suddenly pointed at him. Her pupils reflected his face. She immediately spoke up, saying he should stop making up nonsense about himself, be more confident because he deserves a higher rank than A, and know she needs him and no one else. Embarrassed, she added that on top of everything else, he was the first to splash her with this crap. Rudd decided to take the responsibility himself, but he could not understand why the girl blushed so much. Taking his hand, she said encouragingly that she would invite him to their squad anyway. The man couldn't believe it. After being kicked out, he managed to start over. From then on, the hero chose to live the way he wanted. Suddenly, he felt sick again from nerves. The whole situation repeated itself, just like last time, when a rude man threw up on the girl. Kingdom of High Air, Tiru, the capital. The most prosperous city in the sky, and the headquarters of the Adventurers Guild. In a vast pit, a stern man sits on a throne, looking down at a man standing nearby. In a serious tone, he says the Golden Rose has been demoted to rank B. The man appears very surprised. Raising his voice at the man, he proves to him they are S rank, not even a rank, and asks for the reason behind that decision. Suddenly, Trana knocks the guard to the ground and pins him, warning that the guard is in the king's presence and must show him respect. Furious, as an S rank he was taken down so easily, but he knows they are strong. Later, Liliruru and Sue come home and apologize for disturbing them. Rudd asks them to wash their hands properly, and the girl happily runs off to do it, noting he acts like a father. Surprised, the girl finds the house even has water, like a moving castle. This comparison embarrasses him, and he cringes uncomfortably. After a series of magical transformations during its descent from the high air, the carriage became a home away from home and a place to rest. Outside the city he hid it, but its size still made it hard to miss. The man heard rumors were beginning to circulate about him, and that could not attract unnecessary attention. Rudd isn't sure. He may have overfortified the walls against monsters and bandits, so later he will try casting camouflage magic. Meeting new people felt like a breath of fresh air for the man who had lived as a recluse and spent all his time studying magic, and he sat down at the table. Rudd turned to Sue, took her catch for the day out of the bag, and prepared it. Smiling, she looked at her plate of food, wished him bon appetit, and began to eat, which surprised Lil Ruru. Surprised by Sue's food, she asked Rudd what he was feeding her. He explained the food is made from wild boar meat, swordfish fillet, and a forest worm's body fluid. The girl thought about it. Enjoying the food, she said it was very tasty. Embarrassed, Lily Ruru asked if it was medicine. Red asked the girl if they had anything similar in Roland. People call them additives, but they're actually real food. He thinks they're designed to build muscle efficiently, and has always taken that for granted, since this unique high-air culture emphasizes the physical body. He recalled that his former partners did not take it well, and asked him to keep it from them. Twirling the oval piece between her fingers, the girl said she had never seen anything like it before, and could hardly believe it was real meat. Red picks up a piece, and explains he made this supplement by using magic to draw energy from the boa constrictor meat. Leela Ruru winced, still struggling to believe this was possible. He says using the reaction between bioenergy and magic makes it easy to extract and compress energy efficiently, so the meat won't spoil, and it's ideal for dungeons. She asks whether this can really be done with magic, and Red says he taught himself, though he does not fully understand how it works. The man offered her a taste since she was there. She watched Su chew with obvious pleasure and thought about it. I decided to do it anyway. I put a piece in my mouth, realized they didn't seem dangerous, and ate it. I was surprised to find it was very tasty. Rude smiled, pleased with his invention, while Lily Ruru ate more and slowly realized it was actually moderately seasoned. He also decided to eat a couple to restore his magic. The girl kept praising the food, saying she found it hard to stop eating. He still says this isn't enough. She finds it delicious and believes it will be very filling. He taps the man with his hand and says chewing is an important part of the meal, which surprises him. She asks you to look at Sue and note that she appears to be a beastman, so it is better to feed her solid meat. This is not just about nutrition and taste, and it also strengthens the jaws like little Ruru. A moment later, he still throws a piece of food into his mouth. Red thought about her words because she might actually be right about chewing. Watching the girl eat eagerly, I began to doubt how convincing her words were. Darkness fell outside. The fireplace crackled softly. Sue stretched, yawned, and started to feel sleepy. Root hugged her and said they would go to bed early tonight. Lily Root asked again if the man was definitely not her father. Each evening after dinner, Rude Bathasu teaches her about magic and tucks her into bed. It has become his nightly routine since they met. He notices she is tired from today's long walk around the city and still uneasy about others' glances. Still yawning, the girl gets up and invites the hero to take a bath together. Calmly, he agrees, carries her over his shoulder to the bath, tells Lilaru he will bathe Sue, and leaves the girl to wait for them. He asks her to make herself at home, and she sits on the sofa, continuing to eat. Suddenly, the food fell from her hands, and she asked if they were really going there together. He froze and stared at her in confusion. He tells her they're going there together. Embarrassed and speechless, Lily said it was a bad idea because they were the same age. Thinking over her words, Red still didn't fully understand the problem. Embarrassed, Lilaru cried out that the two of them would be there, without clothes. The man still didn't understand the problem. He stroked Sue's head and said calmly that they always bathe together. She agrees with him, enjoys his hand on her head, and tells him she likes it and that it makes her happy. The girl keeps yelling that they should take baths separately and pushes them apart. Sue asks the girl why they cannot wash together. Embarrassed, she explains that there are many reasons for this and that it is simply wrong. The girl between them waves and suggests they all take a bath together. Both ask again, surprised and unable to believe what they heard. The girl just says happily that they won't be alone. Rudd sheepishly grabs her and says this is a bad idea. He thinks Lulu is a beautiful maiden, unlike Sue who is still a child, and this is very dangerous. He turns to her and explains exactly what he meant. He sees her standing there, red as a tomato. She waves her hands nervously and embarrassed, babbles that she doesn't mind and was just thinking of taking a bath too. Ride is surprised and tells her her whole face is bright red and that she shouldn't force herself if she doesn't want to. Lily replies she's not forcing herself and that it's all meant to win him over. A smile spreads across his face at her reaction. He doesn't understand why Lilaru came to his house, even though it was to invite him to her squad. If they're going to be friends, the girl says they should get to know each other better, and she adds she'll still get him into her squad. Seeing she had packed a few things for the night, he chose to stay but. Embarrassed, the girl looks at him. This is an unexpected development. Sue suggests they all take a bath together. They both stared at the girl, surprised. Sheepishly, Rude declines, saying it's not a good idea, while Lily stands stunned and silent. Looking at the girl, he realizes his suspicions were right. He feels embarrassed and awkward around her. Lily Ruru realizes that bathing together is a good chance for them to connect and should not be missed. Red asks what she thinks and whether she minds bathing together, and the girl replies awkwardly that everything is fine. Grabbing the hero's hand, she decides they should bathe together. Red realizes he now seems to have no right to refuse. The bath could hold only 3 people. He remained nervous and couldn't gather his thoughts. Behind him, the girls preened as he watched. Lily told him to stop staring at them so intently. Turning away awkwardly, he continued to change his clothes. The man liked Lil Aru and found her very cute. Sometime later, Rudd checked on them and asked if he could come in. The bathroom door swings open and the new arrivals step inside. All 3 step into the room. The girl is struck by how large and grand their bathtub is. Sue rubs her sleepy eyes and searches for her towel. Reaching in, she grabs a piece of fabric she thinks is her towel and pulls it toward her, only to discover Lily wrapped in it. A towel slips from the girl's shoulders, leaving her naked. The man looks at Lily and meets her gaze. She stood frozen, embarrassed, and unsure what to do next. Then she blushed very deeply and looked at Rudd. The towel lay on the floor and no longer covered her. A squeal escaped her as she couldn't contain her embarrassment and awkwardness. Later, Sue lay in a warm bed, snoring softly as she recovered from a hard day. Rudu steered his thoughts to avoid doing anything foolish, lying next to the girl who already seemed to be asleep. Lily Ruru lay beside them, watching the boy. Rudd said Sue was sleeping soundly. The girl lay quietly, thinking, and looked at the ceiling. For being so kind to Sue, for talking to her, and for looking after her. He noticed she's very cautious around others, but she still tries to trust them. He said he was worried about her. Thinking of Sue, Rude genuinely wishes she had more people she could trust in the future. Her sleeping face proves to him that it can be done. Lily admits she didn't do anything special, and Sue is simply a very friendly girl. Rudd hopes so. He watches Sue sleep. Then Lily Ruru lies next to him in bed in her pajamas. The memory of the bath makes him feel awkward. Embarrassed, she looks at him, and he apologizes for everything that happened today. Turning away, she lies on her back with her palms over her face, feeling awkward because vomit is on her face and a strange man saw her without clothes, so he waves his hand like he didn't see anything to ease the situation. Her sister, tired and rude, trying to help her, says she is very beautiful. Nervously, she shifts her legs under the blanket. She curls into a ball and says she was denied her first time and doesn't know how she'll look everyone else in the eye now. Lily says Rude was the first to decline her invitation to join the squad, but he insists he never refused the offer. The girl keeps saying he will have to take responsibility now and that she will definitely invite him again. Rudd hesitates, confused, searching for the right words, then speaks. He wants the girl to stay friends with Sue from now on. Interrupting the guy in confusion, she asks why he suddenly has those thoughts, and he says that, as he said earlier, Sue is very careful. But she truly enjoys spending time with Lily. From under the blanket, she reaches out to him and says she did not come here to be friends with Sue. She reminds everyone she already said earlier that Lily gets everything she wants. The girl asks him to hold her hand. Unsure how his day went, she wants to run a small test. The offer surprised Rudd because no one had ever held his hand before. If he rejects the gesture, he will hurt her deeply. The man carefully extends his palm in response. In the stillness of night, their palms touch. Lily chuckles and assures the surprised boy this isn't a call to join the squad, but a friendly gesture. They keep holding hands cautiously. Red feels no hostility, only warmth, and the moon hangs in the night sky, its silent glow soothing. Both smile at each other. Window light falls on their faces as the man gazes at the beautiful Lily. Someday he believes he will deserve this hand, the hand of a loyal companion. Both of them fall asleep smiling and still holding hands. Root reads papers as Sue sits beside a bunny with unicorn ears. Silence surrounds Ruta's lonely house in the field. Root and Sue stand at the forest edge with an E-rank quest to collect medicinal herbs nearby. This is the guy's first job as an adventurer in Roland, and he is very happy about it. A nearby forest holds strong magic, so the meadows around it produce high-quality herbs. Because the forest is full of monsters, a guild controls it, and only adventurers ranked C or higher can enter. As rank E, the two decided to collect them in the meadows around the forest. Rude turns to Sue and says it is not safe here for her, so she should wait for him at home. She says confidently that she will stand by him and, as an assistant, wants to help with his work. He'd expected Suda to come with him, so he wasn't surprised. He asked her to help collect herbs. She agreed enthusiastically and they got to work. Seeing the girl, he remembers his fear of squads. Red realizes that working together doesn't apply to Sue because they are friends, not squad members. Maybe it's all because she keeps calling herself an assistant, and he subconsciously believes it. Maybe it's simply because he sees her as a friend, but he can't really understand or express it. By the way, he remembers that Lily got a job too. She must explore an uncharted, high-difficulty dungeon. Rude remembers her saying the research area was safe, even though it felt like a dangerous dungeon, and that she would feel better if the guy was with her. She promised to win him over by the next trip, which left him very embarrassed. She warned Rudd to be ready and wait for this. Lily works hard on the squad's mission, and he does the same for his. He tells Sue they must first decide which herbs to look for, and she listens closely to the elder's instructions. He points to an example of the plant they need to find. This time they will look for an annual herb called ivasin. When it gets warm, it produces small flowers. At that stage, the plant's leaves are most nutritious. Red tells her to look at a real plant to make the example clearer. He uses vision magic. Then the necessary grass on the ground began to glow. The man thinks it would make Sue's search easier if she saw it. Coming over, he bends to pick some grass, finds Iva's scent on his hands, and says the grass produces pink buds at this time of year. Sue smells the bud and remembers the plant's distinctive scent. Excited, she jumped up, said she'd search by scent, and ran across the meadow. The boy sniffed the plant and found it strange, so he kept thinking about it. Wolf-like people would naturally have a keen sense of smell. If Sue had that trait, her sense of smell could be 100 times stronger than an ordinary person's. She held out the plant and called out that she had found it, and the man was stunned by how quickly she had acted. Sue ran up to him holding some grass, while he stood there admiring her sense of smell. Giggling, she asked the elder if she was doing well and deserved praise. Patting her head encouragingly, he told her she was the best. Using only the scent she remembered, Sue found each hard-to-find herb. Her item pouch only has a simple space compression spell, but it can hold a lot of herbs. Because she really wants to gain experience, they spend today doing that. Teaching her the finer points of gathering, he asks Sue to watch the buds, since small buds are more valuable in medicine than large ones, and thicker leaves are better. Red advises picking only the best plants and not collecting too many. The girl listens carefully and understands everything she is told. With each piece of information he gave her, Sue grew more comfortable. He was pleased to see her looking for herbs and offering to help. One day he got too carried away. As the meeting was ending and Rudd prepared to leave, a sudden sense of danger made him extremely nervous. A sudden surge of powerful magic was felt from the depths of the forest. Always on guard for monsters, he was surprised to find no one. In the forest, the monster's footsteps and roar echoed, and it was not only powerful but also very dangerous. She soon noticed the man's tension and grew nervous because she did not understand what was happening. He warns her they're finished collecting herbs for the day. He asks her to stay next to him, and she obediently stands behind him. Rude uses the magic protective wall, and a huge monster immediately smashes into it. The man is surprised to see that it's a boar, a huge one of the giants. Tension grips him because this isn't everything. A dark demonic power gripped the boar. It growled and dug its hooves into the ground. A high concentration of cursed energy has zombified him and raised his danger level to A rank. The boar opens its huge, slavering mouth threateningly, making Sue very frightened, so she squeals. Though they were protected, the giant boar roared and slammed into the barrier even harder. Rude stayed calm and reassured Sue, promising to protect her no matter what. Grabbing his back, she shouted that she was not afraid because he was nearby and could protect her. Rudd tells her to close her eyes and wait for it to end quickly. Ready to fight the beast, he will protect Sue. His gaze is menacing, and he is ready to tear the beast apart for daring to scare Sue. First, he decided to silence the noisy person, so he used the power of silence on him. The boar went silent and could not growl or squeal. His punishment was merciful for scaring Sue. Not wanting to hear those screams any longer, he decided to free him from the pain of the curse in an instant. The man timed it and figured out what to do. Zombified monsters like the boar must have a source for the curse. It hit him that the head was where the curse was sealed. Using wind blade magic, he separated the boar's head from its body. At that moment, the beast's head flew off. Using a magical slowing power, he stopped the curse from disintegrating. He lifted the curse as well. Gravely, he finishes removing and starts to freeze. Finally, he seals the curse for good. Exactly 2 seconds went into all of it, and he still had 2 seconds left. Using magnetic powers, he pulls in everything. Rude repeats the slowing magic again and adds the curse-sealing magic. He cast a makeshift seal to stop the spell from breaking down, confident it would hold for now. The source of the curse lies far beyond the forest, and fortunately the forest suffered only minor damage. He stroked Sue's hair and told her everything was okay and that it was over. Rudd reported what happened to the guild, and the girls thanked the man for protecting her. Red gave a calm smile. He reminded her she had helped him gather medicinal herbs and thanked her. Sue beamed, and they went home happily, and Rudd thought something strange was happening in the forest. He wasn't sure what else might be hidden there.